I'm having to get used to my new environs. We welcome you all here tonight, and we know the reason most of you.
Okay, moving along here, it's time to adopt our agenda. Just for the board's info and for your info also, we're going to have the public hearing number 2. 3. We will address those when we get there, and we essentially are going to continue. of order. If your conduct continues, I will ask that you be removed. I will also ask the commission board to hold comments until after everyone has had an opportunity to speak, unless you have a question for the county staff. In order to properly conduct this hearing and assure that everyone who wants to speak will have that opportunity, we will follow this format and criteria. First, we will hear from county, planning, and rezoning staff, followed by the applicant, followed by public comment, then allow time for rebuttal. If you're speaking for the entire you, Ms. Stevens. I appreciate that. At this time, Nathan Lee has stepped in to help us. He's got a good bit of experience in this area, and so we're going to turn it over to him at this time. Nathan. Thank you, Mr. Lee. Does the board have any questions of the attorney? We'll go ahead and move forward with our public hearing. I hear a motion to end. And this is consideration of text all in favor? We are now in public hearing at this time. And as I look at my list here, what I'm probably going to do is let the close for a further 6 minutes. At this time, Mr. Lawrence will come forward and introduce.
Bill 6-0, 84, Alex Randall III submitted a request to amend the zoning text to allow mineral and non-material excavation or extraction operations in the industrial zoning district of the special use district. This case is a case continued from a zoning text amendment request submitted February
27, 2018, and denied by the Board of Commissioners on April 24, 2018. Subsequent to the denial to approve Mr. Fitzgerald's request to amend the zoning text to allow rock quarries as a special use approval in the industrial zoning district, Mr. Fitzgerald, client, filed a suit in the Meriwether County Superior Court. The court ordered the Commission Board to rehear Mr. Fitzgerald's request to approve the zoning text amendment. And these are minutes from our planning commission meeting. We went through that again before we got back to here. And there was approximately 55 people in attendance at our public hearing for the second time of public hearing for the text amendment. All attendees were opposed to a rock quarry being allowed in the county. The people had concerns about air quality, noise, water quality, wells going dry, house foundations and walls cracking from the blasting of the rock. Some voiced concerns about their children's health being affected by contaminated water and silica dust. There were also concerns expressed about the pristine Flint River being polluted by silica dust and other contaminants from the runoff of the quarry operation into the White Oak Creek that is a major tributary to the Flint River. After hearing from the people in attendance, Susan Cato, which is a member of the Planning Commission, made a motion to recommend denial of the proposed text amendment. Dan Chapman, another member of the Planning Commission, gave a second to the motion, which passed by unanimous vote. So that is the case presented, and that is the minutes from the County Planning Commission.
Are there any questions for Mr. Garrett? You're not on the mic there.
How about that?
That's good.
Okay. I just want to point out this proposed text amendment reads as such: special uses, mineral or natural material excavation and extraction operations in the industrial zoning district as a special use approval. And there will also be a chart, of course, that will update in Appendix A of the zoning to reflect that change. I did want to point out that this amendment and this text amendment was developed by county staff, our county attorney and Ron Garrett and myself, and was not, presented to us by any applicant. It was not presented to us by anyone with opposition. This was the language that we developed for this text amendment. I just wanted to have that very clear.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gay. Mr. Garrett, if there's nothing else, I will go ahead and get on with the public hearing here. Now, as I mentioned earlier, as I look at this list, the pros are by far the shorter list. So at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Bob Norman, and you heard our time restraints and what have you, so if you would, please come to the mic.
Thank you, members of the commission. Good evening. Thank you for this opportunity to speak to you. I'm going to limit my comments to what's at issue tonight. I don't want to belabor it, but I do want to emphasize again the purpose of this public hearing and the commission action tonight is consideration only of a text amendment as been described by the chairman and Mr. Gay in order to allow for consideration under the standards in the zoning ordinance, a proposed use of land for mining and mineral processing. In accordance with the county's procedures, there will be an application filed tomorrow for the rezoning and special use approval for that facility. There will be, under the procedures, public hearings, weeks, 6 to 8 weeks of time before a final commission meeting and decision on that application. There will be all kinds of opportunity for the members of the commission, the members of the public, to evaluate all the information that will be submitted about this facility. Up to now, it's been very one-sided. The commissioners and most of the public have not had any opportunity to consider all the facts, actual facts, the true facts about this facility. A lot of that will be contained in a comprehensive zoning application that will be submitted tomorrow, presuming the commission adopts the text amendment tonight. And I also don't want to belabor the court order, but it's incumbent on me as the proponent of the text amendment to mention something about that. This commission previously considered the same text amendment, or essentially the same text amendment, and the zoning director recommended adoption of that text amendment on the basis it met all the standards for text amendments in the county zoning ordinance. The court chose to deny the text amendment at that time, and unfortunately and unnecessarily, it was necessary for the applicants who own property in this county, the subject property, to file this legal action, to seek a legal ruling on whether the county can constitutionally deny a lawful and legitimate use of land that is a common use of land all over the state and the country, and that is mining and mineral processing. I'm not going to talk about the order. I know the county attorneys for the county have advised the commissioners about the order. I would like to put the order in the record because it is part of the proceeding, obviously.
Yes, you may, sir. Thank you.
Ms. Henderson did explain the nature of the court's ruling and the unconstitutionality of the ordinance, so I won't go into that further. Basically, the court held that the zoning ordinance unconstitutionally deprived the applicants who I represent, and I'm sorry I didn't introduce myself, but I think you probably know them by now, of their protected property rights under the Georgia Constitution and other applicable Georgia law, and therefore directed the commissioners to adopt the text amendment. And it is clear from, I think, from the attorney's comments that to deny the text amendment tonight, again, despite the recommendation of the Planning Commission that chose not to pay attention to the court's order, to deny the text amendment again tonight would be an unconstitutional act and a violation of the court's order. As I said, we anticipate submitting a comprehensive zoning application package tomorrow. It will address all of the allegations that the commissioners have heard about a facility of this nature. It will contain extensive information concerning the details of the facility, permitting requirements, the highly regulated nature of the facility. And this isn't about the facility tonight, although I'm sure a lot of the opposition comments will be directed at the proposed facility rather than the text amendment. But to give the commissioners just a short introduction about the facility, I'd like to, if I may, Mr. Chairman, approach the commissioners and hand them the conceptual site plan
You may,
for
sir.
the facility and a line of sight diagram to show the barriers and the berms and the buffers and the line of sights that show how insulated this facility would be in surrounding properties.
Mr. Brown, we've got a objection here. We're wanting to stay just with the text amendment tonight, is what I'm hearing from my legal end here.
Okay.
So let's do that as closely as we can.
That's fine.
Okay.
This will all be submitted tomorrow. All of you will get a copy of the full application. I just asked that because I only proposed that because I know a lot of the opposition comments will be directed at the facility and not at the text amendment. So I hope you will keep them to the same limitation.
Yes, sir.
And I agree with you that this tonight's about a text amendment only. We will be submitting an application that will address all of those concerns that you've heard from members of the public and others. There will be an engineering report, traffic impact study, noise assessment, land use compatibility study, land value report that address all of those things that have been concerns from the public. I won't go down the whole list and take that time from others who want to support the text amendment tonight. I will say, though, that based on the uniqueness of the property, its significant granite deposits, large enough tract of land under one ownership, and proximity to rail, it's a unique property, and I hope that the county will not decide to pass up the many benefits of this facility that will be discussed in the application in addition to the other subjects I mentioned. We respectfully request members of the commission and the public here tonight to keep an open mind about the proposed facility once we submit the application tomorrow. And it will be 6 to 8 weeks for information meetings and other learning of the true facts about these facilities. Finally, we do request the Board of Commissioners to adopt the text amendment tonight in accordance with Georgia law and the court's order, and to allow the zoning process to move forward. That's all I have for tonight. Thank you.
At this time, Ms. Carolyn, would you come forward and give your name, please?
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Carolyn Ledbetter. On behalf of me and my husband, we are fully supportive of moving our county forward. If we do nothing, our cities and our county will suffer. We don't want that. We want to grow and thrive. We want to ensure that we foster growth in our county and that we are looking into the future to meet our needs, to fund our education, our infrastructure, and projects that will ensure our community does not go the way that too many cities and counties in our state have gone. We fully support the granite quarry and the jobs and the opportunities it will bring. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. Carolyn. Next up is Ms. Jane.
Good evening. My name is Jane Fryer, and I'm serving as president of the Meriwether County Industrial Development Authority. And I will say that I am speaking on behalf of our board. I have full permission from them for me to stand here and discuss this with you. We discussed at length at one of our meetings back in the spring the idea of a granite quarry in Meriwether County. We spent quite a bit of time discussing it, pros and cons, and at the end of that meeting, we voted to support the jobs and investment that a granite quarry can bring to Meriwether County. I'd also like to point out, too, that I worked in another county that had a quarry, and we've never had a problem with that. In fact, just recently, that county just received or got a $150 million investment from the Great Wolf Lodge. It's within 2 miles of the quarry. And I know they spent many hours and a lot of time looking and deciding whether or not to locate that lodge there at that location. I do not believe they would have located where they did within 2 miles of a quarry if there had been problems. So I say, on behalf of the Meriwether County Industrial Development Authority, we support this and hope that you will vote in favor of it.
Thank you, Ms. Jane. At this time, Jerry, I think you're up. Please give your name.
Commissioners, I'm Jerry Fitzgerald. I am the developer of the proposed quarry. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Let me interrupt you just for a second.
Yes.
Stick as closely as you can to the text amendment.
What I want to do is echo Bob Norman's comments. We're not here tonight to make an application for a rezoning. What we're here tonight to do is to discuss the text amendment. However, there's a lot of people here that are going to voice concerns, and the only comment I want to make is our company, as the developer here, we don't intend to disrupt anybody's life. We don't intend to hurt. We don't intend to disrupt or destroy anybody's property value. We can show statistically that these are just minimal chances that can happen, but I'm not going to get into it tonight. Like I say, I want to echo Bob Norman's comments that what we're here tonight to do is discuss the text amendment. Hopefully you will pass the text amendment as asked, and we as a quarry developers, I'm impressed with the message here on the shirts promoting positive growth in Meriwether County. That's exactly what we're trying to do. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgerald. At this time, I'm going to move to those that are against, those opposed to the text amendment. And let me find myself on this big sheet here. The attorney, you stood a while ago. Are you Mr. Stack?
Yes, sir.
Would you come forward, please? Give your name, sir, so everybody can hear.
Thank you, Mr. McCoy. My name is Don Stack. That's S-T-A-C-K, Stack & Associates. No, Ms. Henderson, I'll be, in fact, one of the things we were going to take as an administrative matter was a formal request to extend time, but in the understanding that it'll actually save the entire commission a great deal of time. We would anticipate 3 people speaking for 1 minute each, and then allow me to have probably about 30 minutes total, and therefore you wouldn't hear the same comments and observations. And the other point I want to make abundantly clear when you consider that request is that I will be confining my comments to the text amendment. I will not be addressing an application that has yet to be received.
Clarification. What I'm hearing, you're going to speak and 4 others in your group are going to speak at this time.
Correct.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you. So with that request, I'd like to just formally, but I would be the 4th one. In other words, let the other 3 folks speak first for the minute each, and then authorize me to have 30 minutes.
That's fine.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
All right. Well, the one that I've got coming up then is Tammy. That's true. That's what I was saying. He has to divide his time with
I did, sir. And what I asked for, and this is an issue that we tried to address before we even started this evening. I spoke to both the clerk and to Mr. Norman, indicating that the easiest way to proceed here would be, in fact, to allow the group as an entirety, 200 people or more that are concerned about this, to compile and condense all their observations in one 30-minute segment, and that's what I'm asking you to do here.
No, sir, we're going to give you 15 minutes. That was what we agreed and voted on just a few minutes ago.
And I understand it, sir, and that's why I'm not going to argue. That's why I stood up before you had that vote to express my concerns so that we could, in fact, address that before a motion was taken. But I understand your ruling, sir.
Okay.
Thank you.
At this time, Ms. Tammy Hicks.
Thank you, Board, for the opportunity to speak. My name is Tammy Hicks, and I'm a resident of the area that is being considered for the rock quarry. And we're not opposed to growth. We're not a group that is opposed to growth, but we want positive growth. And I would just like to start by saying, you know, we have, not only do we have, you have a legal, what you feel like, obligation. More than that, I feel like, boy, you have a moral obligation. Because when God said, let us make man in our image and let them have dominion over all the earth, and, you know, that was a commandment. And you're faced with a decision tonight as far as the text amendment. I feel like everything has purpose. And there is I taught for 31 years. And I have never seen a word that has the same denotative and connotative meaning as the word gay Georgia. And that's where we live. It's a place, it's a carefree. It's a place that we grow for generations and generations, have raised children. We have elderly there, you know, who, including my grandfather, who's 92 years old, who have decided to, you know, to live there. We have a lot of history there, and to live out, you know, his life there. We have all the way back, you know, we farm the land, we share crop. There's much history. We endured much history right there. And like I said, we're not opposed to growth and the progression of change. Okay, just positive. And then also I would like to say too, this community, the spot that is being considered, has been thrust into the world spotlight right now with Netflix. And with them, the series, the world is wanting to visit gay Georgia. You know, constantly I'm getting messages about planning road trips and put it on the bucket list, and you know, and there's lots of opportunity there for growth. Also, directly across from the proposed site, or one area of the proposed site, the series, we have worked for 50 years. Our community to try to build a community center there. But it's been a vision for 50 years because in the area there is no child care. We have a lot of mothers who are impoverished that cannot afford child care. So a vision for 50 years has been to establish, you know, a child care center there, you know, a senior citizen center. And we were blessed by God, you know, that Netflix came directly across and that center is finished. Okay, and so we just want you guys to consider, you know, the human side. You know, I understand, you know, that, you know, we grow. We are growing, okay? And also one more thing, but before I sit down, we feel like our community is not just a place, a spot of land, a parcel of land. We feel like it has the power to heal. There are so many people who have sought refuge right there. You know, me, myself, I suffer from stage 3 breast cancer. My sister at the same time. My mom, you know, months after that. Okay? And we feel like that community has the power to heal. And the public, the world is calling our community a place of refuge and healing. And they would like to come there. So in closing, commissioners, you know, I just, you know, ask you to consider, you know, I know you have legal issues, but more than that, I ask you to consider the moral issue that is at hand, you know, and that is, you know, to, you know, like I said, we're not opposed to growth. It's just positive things that we do right now, you know, that's the legacy of our children that, you know, we leave right there. So, thank you for your time and
Thank
your
you, Ms.
attention.
Tammy. Faith Macaluso.
Hello. My name is Faith Macaluso. I live on Highway 85. My family has been here for over 47 years. I'm 13 years old, and I've lived here my whole life. The Lord has blessed me with a beautiful home on beautiful land with fresh air, and we drive 30 minutes to and from school every day. But we drive there and we make that sacrifice to live here because we love it so much. And inevitably, this text amendment will probably lead to a rock quarry, and that will create unwanted and unnecessary pollution in the air and in the water. And we already have enough pollution as it is. We don't need any more. And there would be loud noises that would disturb our way of living, our peaceful way of living. My family is close to where they're talking about putting the rock quarry in, but there are families with children that are even closer than we are. And they would, the roads here are already pretty clogged, and there would be even more trucks going back and forth that would, in addition to the regular traffic. And in closing, I just wanted to say that you as the adults are the ones who are going to be making the decisions now, but we as the next generation are the ones who are going to have to live with it. And I don't want to have to settle for the next best thing.
Thank you, Ms. Faith. Wait, I think you've got one more. Ben Spangler. Is Ben in the group? He has. Well, staff, come on up.
Thank you, Commissioners. Appreciate you meeting tonight. I know you couldn't pay me enough to do what you were doing, so I appreciate your time. Obviously, what you're being asked to do is consider a significant issue. Let's state the obvious here. We represent more than 200 families. In fact, it's probably close to 240 families, at least 300 people. Mr. Sniff has a sort of packet for you. We'll also have a diagram, you know, blow up that'll allow you to kind of see the area of the folks that we are concerned about. But what I want to spend a few minutes I do have making abundantly clear is that, with all due respect, the county was not ordered or required to approve a one-sentence email text amendment. You keep talking about the text amendment. And I've said I will confine my comments to the text amendment. The request that was made on February 27, 2018 was to, quote, allow rock quarries in industrial zoning district, unquote. And yet tonight you're being asked to approve a text amendment that allows mining and mineral extraction. Those are two significantly different things. And why do I say that? Because you got in this trouble because you didn't follow the procedures. You didn't follow the law, you didn't follow the constitutional requirements, and you're going to step right into that again. You're looking to approve a text amendment, A, that's never been requested, and B, that has no definitions for what it is you're approving. So those are two primary problems. The third one, and probably most importantly, and I appreciate Mr. Norman providing you with a copy of the order. Because I suggest you actually, and I'm not being flippant when I say this, I suggest you read the order. When you do so, you will find that nowhere in there does Judge Kirby say that you have to approve rock quarries. Nowhere in it does it say you have to approve a text amendment that is one sentence. Not even one sentence. What you have to approve under your own zoning code under section 16.4-2A is to actually look at the criteria for any text amendment. And there are three things you have to consider, and you have to follow, and you have to make sure that you've actually evaluated them. And that is, number one, does your text amendment protect health, safety, and welfare? That's number one. Nowhere does a 4-sentence or 5-sentence or 5-word text amendment address that concern. Number two, is it consistent with the county's comprehensive plan? Nowhere in the text amendment that you are considering is there any discussion of how it's consistent with the comprehensive plan. Number three, is it consistent with the purpose and intent of the county zoning ordinance? Nowhere in the 5-word text amendment is that evaluated or considered. So let's take each of those in turn. Criteria 1, does it further protection of the public health, safety, and welfare? The text amendment that you are being asked to evaluate, vote on, and approve has no discussion about how to protect established residential communities, such as Alberton. Nowhere does it have a discussion about protect high-priority watersheds, such as White Oak Creek. Nowhere does it have any provision that addresses the comparable provisions you have in the rest of your ordinance for other concerns of impact, such as cell towers, mobile homes, and the like. So if you have actual ordinances that address that, why wouldn't you do that here? Why wouldn't you sit there and make sure that your text amendment actually evaluates and considers those? And the answer when we asked that of Mr. Gay, with all due respect to that, was he said, well, we can do that later on once we get a rezoning application. And we can put that into conditions. Well, folks, the issue is to sit there and get out in front of this ahead of time, okay? It's not to sit there and have to do site by site by site, because then you do open yourself up to legal challenges. So what should you do? You should address it going in at the front end. You should sit there and make sure your text amendment, your ordinance, actually addresses the concerns that Mr. Norman says he's going to address, Mr. Gay says he's going to address when it's time to evaluate the application. With all due respect, folks, that's bass backwards. That's not how you should do it. So, you sit there and say, well, what do we do? How should we address this? And I will tell you, we provided to the county an ordinance that addresses that. We provided it that had actual standards that should be considered. It addressed how to protect residential structures. It addressed hours and operations. It addressed siting. It addressed groundwater issues. It addressed vibration and blasting. It addressed requirements for reclamation, including a posting and performance bond. All the things that you should be asking and have in your text amendment before you even consider the very first application. And so it also, most importantly, gives you provisions and provides provisions for enforcement of that ordinance. So we asked for all that, okay? And I suggest to you that you need to seriously consider, because implicit in Mr. Norman's discussion tonight was a threat that you're going to be sued again. Well, with all due respect, the reason you got in trouble is because you didn't follow the ordinance. So the question here is, do you want to be on the right side or do you want to be on the wrong side? I assure you that if you follow the zoning procedures law, if you enact actual ordinance and a text amendment that addresses those concerns, you are going to be on the right side of the law. That I can assure you. And I can assure you then that you will have 300 people supporting you and telling you, yes, thank you for your efforts. Thank you for what you've been doing. Thank you to accomplish the goal that we've all asked for, which is a progressive Meriwether County. So, number two, the second criteria that your text amendment does not address, is it consistent with the comprehensive plan? Why did you even go through the planning, the procedures, the cost, the time, and the effort to have a comprehensive plan if you're not going to look at it, if you're not going to focus on it, if you're not going to follow it? Okay? Your comprehensive plan requires the Board of Commissioners to, quote, update all development ordinances, unquote, to update, quote, all outdated codes and ordinances, and to identify weaknesses in your plan. That's what you have an opportunity to do right here, folks. You have that opportunity now. It's a critical time. It's a critical opportunity. It's not a bad thing. It's a critical opportunity for you to address deficiency in your ordinances. Now's the time to address it. The goal of your comprehensive plan is to, quote, protect the rural small-town character, unquote. It also says to protect small-town and rural quality of life which needs to be preserved, unquote. This is not my language, folks. This is your language that you put out there, that you as a commission, as an entire county, decided needed to be implemented, needed to be focused on, needed to be the preservation of what we're doing here. So if you went to all that trouble, why not ensure that you take steps to make that happen? So tell me what in their text amendment preserves and protects the rural small town character. Tell me what protects the small town and rural quality of life. Tell me what's protecting Alberton. Tell me what's protecting any of the community in a 5-word text amendment. Okay? It doesn't mention, okay? It also says in your comprehensive plan, the county contains abundant natural resources that warrant protection, unquote. Okay? The plan, the comprehensive plan sets as a priority the goal to, quote, preserve and protect environmentally sensitive areas, unquote. It sets as a goal to preserve and protect, quote, historical resources, unquote. Tell me how a 5-word text amendment addresses that. It doesn't. The plan says to protect these resources. It doesn't say to exploit them for quarries. It doesn't say to exploit them for one person, one entity's individual profit. This is your constituency. That is not your constituency. These folks have the right to be heard and to have... Thank you.
Please wrap.
I will. All right. The third thing that I would simply say, is fine, is that two real quick points, all right? That clearly you are concerned about being sued again. Don't be, okay? The Supreme Court of Georgia, Mr. Norman, wants you to overlook the very well-established case of Georgia Marble Company versus Walker. It's 236 Georgia 545, and Mr. Sniff can provide it both to Ms. Thomas and to your counsel, our entire package here, that says the Surface Mining Act of Georgia only establishes minimum requirements for mining. Counties can, do, often set more stringent requirements on siting and operating mines, and you, again, will be protected when you follow the law. What is the old adage? You know, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. You made a mistake once. Fine. That happens. We all make mistakes. I'm asking you on behalf of these folks here, don't make the mistake the second time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stack.
Mr. McCoy, as an administrative matter, if I could approach and just provide a copy of our materials to Ms. Thomas and to Ms. Henderson.
No problem. You may approach.
Thank you.
Okay. We actually have to hear from about 5 more folks here on the pro. Did we want to do, you're going to wait till the end of this time to do rebuttal? Would that be the best for, and I'm asking my legal staff, I suppose. Well, what I'll do is let's go ahead and get to everybody speak, and then we'll go into, we already said at the front we'd have rebuttal. Okay. Okay, at this time we have see who's next. Fred Metros.
Mr. Chairman, am I understanding that the materials presented are not about the text amendment?
The materials presented should be about the text amendment. That is correct.
Just procedurally, I don't want anything unfair to happen and we have to do this again. And if they're not part of the text amendment, if they're not about the text amendment, I think we need to exclude them from the record. We can make that determination on a break. I'm just now seeing these documents.
Okay, just come in. Come back, Mr. Stack. Where they're not going to allow this, so I'm going to give it back to you. This is not about the text amendment. It's an addition to it. Good try. But I have to depend on the legal staff to give me that explanation.
If this were to go up, it'd be on the record, potentially on the record, and I don't want it, the screw up to be that we let something that's not about the record, about the issue in. Not trying, this is appropriate at some point, but I don't think tonight. Can I keep?
Okay, moving along here, Mr. Fred, or you're not represented by the lawyer, correct? Okay, go ahead. And you have 3 minutes, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for hearing me today, and everybody else.
Give your name, please, sir, and just see if you can get that mic to pick you up a little better.
That better?
Yes.
My name is Fred Metros. I live in Merriweather. I live in Gay. Been there for over 20 years. I'll give you a little bit about me so you understand where I'm coming from. In 1972, with my wife and a kid, I enlisted to go to Vietnam. After that, I kind of floated around, did my jobs. I came here. I came from California to here in '77. I love it here. I think it's the nicest place ever. California, they buried California in concrete and asphalt. They've ruined it. And they've ruined the smog. Even smog didn't want to stay there. So when I got here, I figured this is a great place to be. I love it. I love my house. We love everything about it. You can hear the train tracks, the engines coming across that train track at 11, 12, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. That's how quiet it is. I can't imagine what it would be like to have somebody tripling, quadrupling, 100 times over that noise. I can't imagine. But I do know this much, that what we have here is something we can't replace. And if we decide to lose it or get somebody else to come in and tear it to pieces, when they leave, they're gone.
Mr. Metros, please adjust your comments to just the text amendment. I understand you're going to quality of life and that sort of thing, but stay with the text amendment as much as you can.
I got you. Being I haven't read it, Chairman, I can't tell you that much for or against it, but I can tell you what I am against. I'm against approving it. I don't want our amendments changed in any way, shape, or form. I think it's important that we understand. Somebody got wise enough to put it in there in the first place. For us to take it back out and let other people come in to change something is more damaging than good. We'll throw everything away that we've worked for. So I oppose this amendment. I'll yield the rest of my time.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. At this time, Gene, I think you're up. Gene King. You did, Gordon. I'm sorry. Come on forward. I see. You were actually supposed to have been with the first segment, and we didn't get you in there, so you can go ahead and start off.
No apologies necessary, Mr. Chairman, and I appreciate y'all being here tonight, and I know you're dealing with a politically, logistically, and legally difficult situation. And so I appreciate the hard work and the attention to the problem. I don't have a whole lot to say. I'm very sorry. My name's Gordon Rogers. I'm the riverkeeper for the Flint, and I'm here tonight representing the membership of that group, which is 897 families, farms, and businesses, about 3/4 of which live downstream of Merriweather County, and that's about 2,400 folks. And 16 of those families, farms, and businesses are here in Merriweather County with Merriweather County zip codes. That's who I'm here representing. So to the point, my counsel has instructed me and drilled me on the fact that the court order is real, the court order means something, and that y'all have to deal with it. But there's more than one way to skin the cat. You can adopt a plain Jane text amendment, which I believe is the one that's before you, that's not very restrictive on this sort of activity. Or you can go ahead and adopt a text amendment that protects property values, quality of life, and water on the front end. I don't believe that sort of amendment is before you tonight. I also don't believe that you have to actually pass this tonight. I think you could table this for a while and get some more information and study it a little closer. I highly recommend that y'all don't deal with rock quarries one at a time and look at restrictive covenants and restrictive code and special conditions for each rezoning. I highly recommend that you do that on the front end with a good text amendment for your code. And there's excellent case law to support this. There's a 1976 case. I can't quote the name of the case, but I'm sure there are others in the room that can, that specifically acknowledges that counties and other local jurisdictions can be much more restrictive than the Georgia Mining Act, and that counties can take control essentially over their destiny on the front end. So I encourage y'all to not pass the simple plain Jane amendment that's in front of you, and to consider something that's much more protective of the folks in Meriwether County. And we at Flint River Keeper really appreciate the hard work that y'all are putting in. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gordon. Gene, at this time.
Prayer for each and every one of you last night.
Give your name to the folks, Gene.
This is Gene King. I live in close to the vicinity of Alvaton, Georgia. I really hate even coming and speak. I didn't make it inside to hear everything else. I don't want to repeat, and I think you made it clear to talk about just the text amendment. So I have to agree with Gordon. I think what the citizens of Meriwether County would like to see for a change, we dealt with all this with the landfill stuff. Each one of y'all are between a rock and a hard place, and I know that. You have the judge tell you what to do. But you know, we elect y'all to run our county. We didn't elect the judge to run our county. And I think there's a process without giving the look that we had before, where our commissioners first, as soon as they get threatened with a lawsuit, they just go ahead and do what the power people tell them to do, or what the judge tells them to do, and that's it. I would like to see you not pass it tonight, just to show that you're willing to have the county attorney reach out and go, they need more time, they need to research it, get all your facts straight. I think that's why they have appeals in court. So I was going to speak some stuff on, you know, other things as far as if it came to changing ordinances and so forth, but you said you want to stick strictly to the text amendment. So like I said, I don't know what all has been said tonight, but I would like to see us to have a commission in this county that stands for the people, and just lets them know that you're here for us, and we all are supporting y'all. You may have got a lot of nasty phone calls, I don't know, but we try to encourage everybody to call and show respect, because it's a tough situation for what y'all are doing. I commend you for, you know, running for office and sitting there tonight and having all this burden on your shoulders, but at the same time, just like the rest of them, I would love it. I think everybody in this room would love to see y'all show a stand for the people of Meriwether County and your position, and table this thing until you get more information and know exactly whether or not if it is a contempt of court or not. You know, judges can be wrong. That's why you can file an appeal.
Thank you, Gene. I may stumble a bit on this next name. I'm reading David Garman. Is that correct? Okay, David, come forward. Go ahead and give the commissioners your name and address.
My name is David Garman. I live at 1819 Alberton Road. So I'm really close by where I understand it, this is being considered. Just recently moved down here, so I don't know many of y'all, but I've seen this come in, seen this happen before. And my concerns are that if you restrict it to where I can have my kids down and my grandkids on the weekend without hearing a bunch of blasting and without having to replace a well because it's been run dry. I don't know anything, I hadn't heard any of the meetings, first meeting I've been to, but I live there. The people that's gonna have to put up with it every day is the people that's gonna have to live with it. This county, whatever they promise you, get it up front.
David, before you get into that, now address the text amendment. I know you're thinking about some conditions, but as closely as you can, adhere to the amendment.
I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman. I'm sorry, like I said, I haven't been privy to a lot of the information, but as a resident of the county, I think you should table it, take a closer view of it, what's been done in the past in other counties, and get their input more so. I appreciate all the time that everybody that's been on the county commission that's been working on this, city attorney, everybody. I appreciate what you've done, and please consider us. Like I said, we just moved down here, and my wife's like, kidding me, who's going to take it up whenever they cut the price of our house because we're blasting it away? But you understand where I'm coming from, and I'm not going to take up any more of your time, and I'm going to be here.
Thank you, David. Victor Gillum. Okay, Victor.
Good evening.
Give your name and address, Victor.
My name is Victor Gillum. I live at 86 Timberland Court, Alberton. And what I'm concerned about with the text and everything is making sure in the text amendment that we do put in everything we can to save our good quality water. Also, my neighbor down below, Buddy Scarborough, has told me and everything that there is a spring that has historical value of the whole community and everything. That over 100 years ago, the people used to come there to do their laundry and get together and everything because the water was there to do that, and that's where they got their water. And my concern and everything is the historical value of areas when they start blasting and doing such work. And I come from oil fields, so I know that there is a lot of concerns going on, that there is historical value in the whole area that they're talking about. And if you destroy that value, especially our water, it's about as pure as you can get. It comes about between 7.0 and 7.5. A little on the alkaline side, but it is about as good as water as I think Georgia has. But with that historical value down below, maybe we can put in the text or something that they have to go through and make sure there's studies on the historical values of the area and the drainage of the Flint and the White Oak River. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Baker. The last person I had to sign in is Ellen Wright. Miss Ellen. Ellen Wright. Is Ellen Wright in the building? We'll wait just a moment and see if she can be located. I know the next phase of this, there will be some rebuttals offered, I'm sure of that. And I'm going to have to ask legal, how do y'all want to do this? Do y'all want to speak first, and then let me make sure everybody gets a chance to speak? I would think the legal staff, Mr. Thayer, if you have anything, Mr. Norman, Mr. Stack, that should be about all we need for rebuttal here. I think I'm going to have to make the assumption she can't be found. Oh, did he? Okay. Bad assumption, huh?
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time, you could go ahead and allow rebuttal to begin, and then
Well, let's just go ahead and, oh, she can't be found, okay. We did make an attempt, so I'm going ahead and, let's start the rebuttal. Who wants to speak first? Mr. Thayer?
Mr. Stack mentioned that the issue of adding conditions after an application was backwards. And he and I think we'll both agree there's more than one way to skin a cat. And I come from an environment where that's the way we did it. The ordinance was very simple. The text is very simple. But then once we had the specifics of the application, and we knew all the criteria, we would look very closely at the conditions that were applied to that particular zone. So, with all due respect to Mr. Stack's position on that, I don't agree that that's necessarily backwards in everybody's opinion. And also about the comp plan. When the comp plan, we've got it complete, and I can assure everybody that when the application comes forward, we will strongly look at the comp plan and what it calls for in a particular location. There are areas of the comp plan that call for industrial, but there's areas of the comp plan that do not and talk about rural preservation. And so my opinion is, again, I'm not an attorney, but I've been doing this for a long time, is the comp plan will come into play, but it will come into play on specific applications where we can make sure they're applicable to that particular area where any application comes up. So I just wanted to say that as response back to some of the things we've heard tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. Miss Susan, did you have a comment?
I had one real quickly. I believe I heard Mr. Stack say that Judge Kirby had not ordered this board to adopt the text amendment. I've read the order, and I would not consider walking into Judge Kirby's courtroom and trying to advance the argument that he has not ordered this board to adopt the text amendment. And I know Judge Kirby very well. Appeared before him more times than I can remember.
Thank you for that, Mr. Lee. Mr. Stack. Oh, I'm sorry, Susan, go ahead.
Well, and along those lines, in the order, Judge Kirby gave us 30 days to complete this task. The order was signed on June the 26th. We were actually given an extension to try to look into this a little bit further. And we've gone into great detail, and that Mr. Gay and I have about discussions about the particular stringent conditions that would be placed on any application in regards to the area that it references. And the other comment, this commission stands behind this community and for the people stronger than any council or commission I've ever seen. They went to bat for this community, and I walked in there knowing, based on the Constitution, that we didn't have a really good argument, and we are obligated by law and by the Constitution, the greater laws than the ones that we have here, to have an opportunity for someone to be heard when they want to utilize property that is beneath the ground. We don't, the due process clause of the United States Constitution requires the ability to be heard, and that's all this text amendment is about. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Susan. Mr. Stack, I'm going to come to you. Did you have any rebuttal? And keep it short.
I will, absolutely. A couple of very quick observations. Mr. Lee, I appreciate your concern, and and I think if we go back and hear the transcript, I did not say at any time that the county commission did not have to adopt a text amendment. I do believe that you have an order to adopt a text amendment. My statement and the entire crux of my argument was that you don't have to adopt a 5-word text amendment, that in fact you should adopt a more comprehensive text amendment. It very clearly says in the order at page 6 that that what you are required to do was to follow the proper hearing procedures and reasonable criteria for determination of similar requests for zoning approval under applicable provisions of the Meriwether County zoning ordinance. That is what we have been suggesting from day one. In terms of addressing Mr. Gay's concerns, and it ties into, Mr. Lee, what you had said earlier, I would, for the record, make sure that we, in fact, have submitted the appropriate exhibits. And by that I'll mean the first one that we would be submitting was the map that shows the areas of folks that we represent. The second one would be, in fact, Mr. Fitzgerald's request of February 27th that actually lays out what the request formally was. The third one would, in fact, be the itemization of the people that we represent. It's a chart that shows Citizens for Action Meriwether, Inc. The fourth one would be the Georgia Marble Company versus A.D. Walker case that I referenced. The fifth one would be, in fact, a communication from Mr. Sniff, my associate, and I to Ms. Henderson, Mr. Gay, and Mr. Garrett, in which we thank them for meeting, Theron and Susan for meeting with us, and talking about the text amendment process in general, and submitting a application for amendment for a proposed ordinance that would in fact incorporate the very things that I have been discussing. It's laid out as Table 7.3, Article 7.3, Article 12, Surface Mining Regulations, that lays out very specifically. And let me just close by saying that I believe Mr. Gaze, with all due respect, I understand he's been at this a long time, so have I. I've been at it for 33 years, that his approach is a recipe for disaster, because what you have to do then is you can't even tell an applicant ahead of time what the criteria are, the restrictions are. So it's actually unfair, ironically, it's actually unfair to the applicant that he's then put in the position of trying to guess what criteria you may find needful or what you may establish his application under. So the appropriate way to do that, and as Mr. Rogers said, is don't try to focus on these one at a time. Have an ordinance in place first that gives guidance to all applicants, regardless of whether it happens to be in Alberton, whether it happens to be Mr. Fitzgerald, or if it happens to be Mr. Smith 6 months down the road. The real point, and again, I've got to emphasize to you, this is an opportunity. Don't think of this as a bad thing. Don't think of this as that you're under the gun because you were forced into doing something. You have an opportunity to make things right and to take steps to actually protect the citizens, which all of you have said that is your goal. So all we're trying to do is help you achieve that goal. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Norman, would you like to come to the mic? Go ahead, sir.
Members of, 5 minutes, yes. Members of the commission, Mr. Stack, who I know well and have worked with many times, is engaging in revisionist history. He would have you go back and readopt your zoning ordinance, readopt your comprehensive plan, and start over again. Essentially the same text amendment was before you previously. Your zoning director evaluated the criteria for text amendments. He determined all the criteria were met for the text amendment. This is essentially the same text amendment. When we had to go to court, the court evaluated those same criteria. If you look at the briefing we did and the court's order, he talks about the criteria for text amendments and determined that those were satisfied based on the recommendation of your zoning director. So that's what this is. Wants to go backwards. He would have you think that the Georgia Environmental Protection Division, the Surface Mining Division, the Water Quality Division, the Air Quality Division, all of whom are involved, have voluminous regulations governing quarries and other similar uses. The federal MSHA that regulates all mines of any kind, that they don't know what they're doing. That this commission should go back and review what's needed to regulate a quarry to make it protective of the environment. The problem here is every argument they've made is based on the presumptions that all of these concerns they have are going to happen with the quarry. We're going to submit an application and materials to you tomorrow that demonstrate that none of the concerns they expressed to you so far hold water under the real facts. So you can't base your decisions on presumptions that things are going to happen that the facts will show will not happen. And you don't need to second guess the regulators who extensively regulate these facilities. We will show you how extensively regulated they are. The public, you're looking at the public interest. The public in the county, with all due respect to these people, and we hope to educate as many of them as we can with the facts, but the public is the entire county. They're all of your constituents, not just the people in this courtroom. And we hope and believe that in the end of this process, after you've considered all the facts, seen the application, evaluated it, we may have public information meetings to help educate people, that you'll determine that the overall public interest of your constituents in the county is to not pass up this unique opportunity to have an environmentally protective, economically beneficial facility in this county like so many counties around you have. And you don't read the paper every day about problems with the quarries around here, I don't believe. I've not seen any news articles about problems with the granite quarries in other counties. And we just hope that you'll consider the entire public interest at the end of this process. And we got to get to the end of the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Norman. Is there anybody who would like to speak specifically on the text amendment? Okay, at this time, do I hear a motion that we go out of public hearing? Is there a second? All in favor? I suppose the best thing we could do, Mr. Gay, you have the amendment right there, is read that for everybody to hear. Use your mic, Mr. Gay, if you would.
Is that better?
That's better.
Okay. Under proposed text amendment, special uses, mineral or natural material excavation or extraction operations in the industrial zoning district as a special use approval. Of course, that would have to come, with a request to rezone property to industrial along with the special use. And of course, in that zoning ordinance will also be a chart that will indicate under Appendix A, and it will reflect the change to show that mining or mineral and natural material excavation extraction is a special use under the industrial zoning district. But it will take a hearing, everything, even if the property is already zoned industrial, it would necessitate a public hearing in order to be able to have that special use. So even properties that are already industrially zoned would not have the opportunity to do a rock quarry or any other kind of mining without coming back before the board and making an application for rezoning. So that's the...
Thank you, Mr. Gay. Any questions, commissioners? Well, at this time, I think we need to call for a vote, and you have heard the text amendment as it has been presented and as it is read. Commissioners, I'd like to hear your motions. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead with your comment. You're going to have to use that thing in front of you there, Ms. Shirley.
Good evening, everyone. For those, I've got the sunglasses on. It's not because I didn't want to see everybody. I see you all who can't see me as well. But I just had a little surgery this morning. First of all, I want to say to the constituents of Meriwether County that have reached out to me. I personally appreciate hearing from each. Felt it was necessary an open policy, and we still do have that open policy. And so there were some who reached out to me. Unfortunately, you didn't leave numbers, or there was a way. Contact you back, so I do apologize, but I tried my best to reach out to everyone, those who had an opinion one way or the other, so I appreciate hearing from you all. Also, I just want to say that it is a difficult place to be right now. I understand one of my concerns, and I've expressed it to this board and I've expressed it at other times, that for Meriwether County to move forward in whatever capacity that is, I believe in sustainable growth, progressive growth. But I also want to make a comment at this time that we do need to look at our ordinance as a whole, not just on this one particular issue, but all of the things in our ordinance. And I'm going to recommend, and I've recommended it before, that either we bring in an outside consulting firm or we look at bringing someone in to just overall look at our ordinance, what's relevant, what's not relevant, and what we need to address. I think one of the main reasons is that this was never addressed. For whatever the reason, it was never addressed. It was never part. And so at this point, unfortunately, the county finds itself being sued. And it's a difficult place to know that you have a company that comes to you one day and say, we want to be good partners, we want to be a part of the community, and turn around the next week and sue. But you have that option. That's what America allows you to do. But I do want to say this. This is a difficult position for all of us. And I can speak, I believe, for the board that we have taken the time to listen to all our constituents, and we appreciate what you have shared with us. Thank you.
Any others? Then I'm back. We need a motion to accept the text amendment or deny the text amendment. Is there a second? We have a motion. Okay, a motion has been made by Ms. Beth. It has been seconded by Brian there on the end, Commissioner Threadgill, and we're up for a vote or discussion at this point. Is there further discussion, Commissioners? Certainly.
As Commissioner Hines says, this has been a very difficult situation for all of us. I have spent the last 8 years on this board. I stand on my record as far as standing behind the citizens of this county. I have tried to return calls. I don't think I've missed any that anybody has called me. I have talked to you. I've given my opinions. We may not always agree. We're a lot more on the same page than we're not. At this point, I think our only difference is we have a different approach as how to get to the same spot. I appreciate and I recognize the suggestions that have been made. Our opinion, or my opinion, has been that these criteria conditions come at the time for a specific site and a specific location. I do not disagree with the things that were in the text amendment that was given by the citizens. I can even think of some others that are not in there. So I do not disagree with that. I simply disagree with the time and a place that needs to be. So that's the reason for my motion to go with the text amendment. And then when application is made for a specific site, then you'll certainly see that criteria.
Thank you, Commissioner. I appreciate that. The only comment I have, this is an especially hard decision for me also. Alton is my backyard. But understanding all that's going on here and all that's taking place and being involved with it from day one and being there and sitting in front of the judge and a few other things, I think the motion to approve is probably the best motion we can do at this time. As Mr. Gay said, everything will be looked at from this point on, each application as an individual application. And I think that is the best we can do at this time. I'm calling for a vote. All in favor? All opposed? All abstain?
I said I sustained.
She did not vote either way.
She abstained from voting is what she's saying. Okay. Clerk, what was the tally? The motion carries. I would like to, at this time, we appreciate your presence, but we are going to let's take about a 10-minute break, and then we'll come back. Okay, if this looks like the crowd, so let's go ahead and get back on it here if we could. Commissioners, we're still in the public hearing. The next item in front of us is item number 2, which is case 10, John P. Knight. Do I hear a motion we go in public hearing? Is there a second? All in favor? I think we want to make a motion here to continue this until next commissioners meeting. Do I hear a motion? Is there a second? All in favor? Do I hear a motion we come out of public hearing?
Mr. Chairman, just one note on that. The applicant was contacted and they agreed to continue.
Applicant has agreed. Y'all heard that. Okay, I think I asked for a motion to go out of public hearing. Is there a second? Okay, all in favor, and I think I saw your votes. At this time, we've got before us item number 3, which is case number 11, Jeffrey Hunter. Was Jeffrey contacted?
Yes, sir. He was contacted, and he too agreed to have this continued to your next meeting.
Okay, I'd like a motion for us to go into public hearing. Is there a second? All in favor? We're in public hearing. I would like to hear a continuation until next commissioners meeting. Is there a motion? Is there a second? All in favor?
And that meeting is September the 12th, Mr. Chairman.
September the 12th will be the designated meeting.
Both of them, September 12th at 9 o'clock.
Then I'm asking for a motion to come out of public hearing. Okay. Is there a second? All in favor? We're out of public hearing. Under old business, our first topic is appointment to DFAX District 4. Are we ready with that one? Okay. Have a motion to table. Is there a second? All in favor? Motion so tabled. Appointment to the Library Board District 5, it looks like. Are we ready with this? Okay, have a motion to table. Is there a second? All in favor? Okay, so carries. New business, resolution to update and authorize 911 charges on telephone services and wireless, enhance 911 charges other than prepaid wireless services. Mr. Gay, would you give some
Yes, sir.
explanation here?
Mr. Chairman, it's required that we the board adopt a resolution on a regular basis to be able to authorize to continue to collect our 911 fees. You have two before you tonight. One is to authorize collection on enhanced 911 wireless, enhanced 911 other than prepaid, and you also have a resolution to authorize 911 collections on prepaid. It's two different resolutions. This is really bookkeeping to be able to allow us to continue to collect our 911 fees, which is a surcharge on telephones and cell phones that allow us to be able to operate the 911 service. We recommend approval of both of those.
Okay, and then the resolution to update and authorize for all other than prepaid wireless service. Do I hear a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? I need a resolution to update and authorize charges on prepaid wireless services. Is there a motion? Is there a second? Any discussion? All in favor? So passes. Number 3, confirm Tree of Life worksite agreement form between Meriwether County and Tree of Life Incorporated.
This is a, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners, this is a, can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
This is a agreement whereby we have an organization called Tree of Life, and they provide helpers and workers similar to the Paxton program that we're in, and they have some people that are working with us up at the animal shelter, and we just wanted to have an agreement on hand to be able to authorize them to work with the county, and we recommend approval of that as well.
Okay. Recommendation is to confirm the Tree of Life worksite agreement. Do I hear a motion? Is there a second? Any further discussion on the matter? All in favor? So passes. Number 4, discussion of the mental health court. Okay. The discussion is asked to be tabled. Is there a second? All in favor? So tabled. Consideration to replace transportation bus number 3715 that was determined a total loss after being hit by a tree. I think we're all aware of this, and this is our Three Rivers bus that was totaled in the storm there on Green Street. Tree struck it and completely demolished it.
And there is some additional dollars, of course. We did collect the insurance, and we're responsible for a portion of the dollars. We'll have to go back to replace that bus, but that was the new bus that we really just added into our program to be able to allow us to be able to go outside the county. So we certainly recommend approval of that, and Mr. Buster Beverage prepared a letter, your signature requesting the replacement of that. It'll come back to GDOT, and we'll have some participation in what, 20% Beverly, or I think it's 20%.
Additional after the insurance pays, we would still have about $5,000 to $6,000. Okay, I need a motion to replace transportation bus number 3715 and permission for a chair to sign. Is there a second? All in favor? So passes. Mr. Bill, it looks like I'm all the way up to you. Report from Finance Director. Okay, Mr. Bill, we'll accept that as the best report we've heard tonight. Report from County Administrator.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I think y'all just had a public hearing on what I've been working on the last few weeks, so I don't have any other report either. I do have something, you guys have a public hearing in the morning, and that involves the setting of the millage rate for the year, but Bill and others have some pretty big issue that we want to present in the morning. We think that citizens are going to appreciate the actions of what you guys are doing, and I won't say any more because I want it to be a well received in the morning. Just take a look at it, but I will say that it'll be a great announcement in the morning. Okay, to go along with the reduction of our millage rate slightly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now we're up to our county commissioners. Mr. Threadgill, do you have anything at all that you would like to... Miss Mary, Commissioner, nothing at this time. The only thing I would like to say, I'd like to thank everybody that was here for the job and how well behaved everybody was. I think it was one of the best conducted meetings. Well, I don't know if it was conducted or everybody conducted themselves well is what I'm looking for, and I appreciate that. Commissioner Hadley. I almost applauded. That was good. And sincere. Our county attorney, Miss Susan. Susan, I am so proud to hear that. I'm putting a big X on here. Any public comment? Would anybody like to come forward and speak? Well, nobody bounding to their feet there. Our future meetings and notices are so described here. August the 29th, which is in the morning, Commissioners, 9 a.m. we have a special call meeting over at the BOC. And what all's involved in that, Mr. Gay? I know you're going to roll out the grant, but you're going to also be approving the... Oh, I guess I shouldn't have said that. Retract that from the record, please. Okay, September the 12th, 9 is our regular meeting. September the 25th at 4:30 is work session. September the 25th at 6 is regular meeting. And I believe all employees are off Monday, correct? Okay. Do I hear a motion we adjourn? Is there a second? All in favor? You stand adjourned.